Hello, my name is Masha, and today I'm going to teach you how to make the clean back alpha technique based on a photo tutorial by this user on Bracelet Book. This video is also sponsored by Skillshare, more about them at the end of the video. This tutorial is definitely not for beginners. It is quite complex and it is based on a lot of different techniques that are usually learned before you get to this level. Most specifically, this tutorial is highly based on the flat alpha technique, on which I have a separate tutorial which you are free to check out. That tutorial will be linked in the card and in the description. The clean back alpha technique has a lot of similarities with the flat alpha technique. So let's look at the basic technique of the clean back alpha as is described in the photo tutorial. The basic principle of the clean back alpha technique is that you feed the strings that you don't need within other knots. In a regular flat alpha technique bracelet, once you are done making that flat knot, you pull the string that you don't need into the back of your bracelet and it is hidden in the back. But that means that the front looks nice and you can clearly tell what design it's meant to be, whereas the back doesn't. For this technique, you will be hiding the unnecessary string inside your other knots. You will also add new colors before you actually need them within your bracelet, a couple of rows behind, and you will leave colors out a couple of rows after you finish using them. When hiding knots horizontally, we're just going to use the flat alpha technique as normal. When hiding knots vertically, we double up on the bass strings. And when the knot is cornered, we combine the two techniques. And don't worry, I'm going to visually demonstrate this in just a second. The first thing that you're going to need to do is you are going to need to figure out what route your string is going to take within the bracelet in order to hide it. For simplicity, I am using the same pattern as was used in the photo tutorial, so I will use this image that was in that tutorial to demonstrate the string. We insert the green string into our bracelet 2 rows before we actually need it. That way, when we do need it, we don't have to bother with all of the switching and all of that kind of stuff, and we can just start making the bracelet with it. We then need to move that string down 2 rows and then across, since it needs to make a knot of its color. I am now talking about row 4. We then need to move that string down to row 5, but since on row 5 we need that green string to be in position 1 knot before it needs to be used, on row 4, after we make a knot of the green color, we need to make 2 knots to the left where we hide that string, and then 1 corner knot when we move the string to the left and down. Then on row 5 we do another corner knot where the string moves from top to down and then to the right. Then we make 2 knots of that color, and in order to move that string down to row 6, we need to do that reverse knot, which is to the right and down, and then on row 6 we pick it back up with taking that string going from up to down and then to the left, followed by 2 knots where it's hidden to the left, and then a knot of its color, and so on. You need to make sure that you are following the direction of your row and that the line that you're drawing to represent the hidden string within your bracelet starts 1 knot before the first knot of its color on that row and ends in a place that is either 1 knot after the last knot of its color, such as on row 5 for example, or in such a place that when it moves down, the string is going to be once again 1 knot before the first knot of its color on the next row, as is on row 7. Another thing that I will add is that if you have multiple colors switching within a single row, this can get really complicated really quickly. So I would recommend starting this technique with a pattern that only really has 1 or maybe 2 colors per row, not including the background color. The more colors you have, the more difficult it is to actually figure out the routes that each string needs to take, the bulkier the knots will be when you're making the switches. This still can be done, of course, I just don't recommend starting with something like that because it can get really overwhelming. However, a tip that I do have from people that have made very complicated patterns with this technique is that when you have sections within a pattern where a single color is being used a lot on the left side and a lot on the right side, but not so much in the middle, use 2 separate strings for that single color, because it will make routing it much easier if you just focus on the right side or if you just focus on the left side, and it will eliminate having to do a bunch of knots where you have to thread that string through in the middle when it's not actually making knots for that color. Drawing a line to represent the way that your string is going to be hidden within the bracelet will help you when you are then going to make that bracelet. Once you have that visualization, it will be easier for you to actually make the bracelet. So let's now talk about what you need to do to make these switches. Alright, so here I am following that exact same pattern that we just looked at. One thing I will say right off the bat is that the number of bass strings in this pattern is even, which means that I can't easily add a leading string to the keychain, which this is a keychain. So I tied my bass strings on as normal to the keychain, which if you don't know how to do that, it's a lark's head knot. I have a separate tutorial on keychains, and the lark's head knot I think is also explained in my basic knots tutorial. But I also added an extra pair of strings to be the leading string, and that second tail is at the back there, and I'm going to cut it off later. Not necessarily connected to this tutorial, but I thought I'd mention that as well so you're not confused as to how I have an odd number of strings when this is a keychain. So I have made the first row, and I am now at the point where I need to introduce the green string. So I will make the first knot of the second row, which will be a backward forward knot, onto the last, or I guess the first for this row, edge string. But I will just do it on both that bass string and the green string at the same time. That way I am looping in the green string to this bracelet. That green string will be sticking out there, but we will cut it off later, no problems. I'm now going to do the rest of row 2 and the majority of row 3 until I end up back here, and we will talk again. Alright, so I have done row 2 and the majority of row 3, and now I'm back at this bass string and the green string. Here I need to make a knot which brings the green string down and points it to the left. So the first half of the knot is going to be over both of these strings at the same time, just like we did in the beginning. Then I'm going to take the green string and I'm going to point it to the left, and I'm going to do the second half of the knot only on the bass string, making sure that the green string is pointed to the left here as I'm doing that. And there we go. Now I have a green string that is pointed to the left. Then, according to my pattern, I need to make one green knot. And here it is just the flat alpha technique. I am going to make half of the knot with the green string, pull that up, grab the previous leading string, put it under and across, and then do the second half with the green string. So this is identical to the flat alpha technique here. Now both of these strings are pointed to the left. According to my pattern, I need to make 2 knots with the white string while hiding the green string within them. These, again, 2 knots, are going to be just like the flat alpha knots, except when we do a flat alpha, we then pull that string to the back and hide it. We're not going to be doing that. We're just going to continue making these flat alpha knots, this time with the leading string. So half of that knot, put the previous leading string through, second half of that same knot. Then again, I'm not going to push it back now. I'm going to put it out of the way so it's not in my knot here, but I'm going to make half of that knot here, put it through, and make this second half of the knot. And there we go, we're feeding that green string through these knots. Next, according to my pattern, we are making a knot in which the green string goes to the left and down. I'm going to make half of the knot, pulling the green string away. I'm not using that right now. Then the green string, instead of going across like we just did now, we're going to pull it down because we need it to go down for the next row. And we're going to do the second half of the knot onto both the bass string and the green string at the same time. There we go. Now the green string is pointed down and it is ready for row 5. So this leading string is going to go to the left to finish that row, then back to the right, and once I've done that, I will pick back up on how to switch it again. Alright, so now that I've done all of that, this green string needs to come down and then point to the right. So the first half of the knot is going to be made on both of these strings at the same time. Then we're going to take the green string, put it off to the right, and make the second half of the knot on just the bass string. That way, the green string is now pointed to the right. Now, once again, we're making regular flat alpha knots with the green string. According to my pattern, I need to make 2. So the first half, then this one is going to the right, and the second half goes over it. I'm going to put it off to the side so it doesn't get in the way of the first half, but once again, the first half of the knot without it, put it through, and make that second half. Like so. Now on this bass string, the green string needs to go to the right and down, and we already kind of went over this. This is just the same thing. We're going to make the first half of the knot with just this leading string, then the green string gets pulled down, and we're making the second half of the knot over both the green and the leading string. since we are trying to get this green string to go down rather than across. And the last knot here is just a regular edge knot with the main leading string. So there we go, now that string is pointed down. Next, according to my pattern, it's going to be just one regular knot on the edge string. On this string, we're going to be moving that green string down and to the left. So we're going to do 1/2 knot on both of these, then pull that green string to the left and finish that knot. Then 2 hidden knots with just the background string. The green string is going to be threading through that in flat alpha knots, just regular ones. Then 1 green knot through which we will be threading the background leading string, then a background leading string knot through which we will be threading through the green one, and then another knot in which we need to make the green string go down. So the first half of that knot will be regular, and then the second half will be over both the bass string and the green string, and so on and so forth. I've already sort of explained how to do these, so what you need to do now is just follow the pattern until you run out of the green string, at which point we are going to encounter the flower. And we need to make sure that we add the string for the flower before we're going to actually need it, 1 row before. But I will show you that when I get to it. So I'm just going to continue making this and then catch up with you later. So the time has come for me to introduce the new string, and I'm going to do it the same way that we did it in the beginning. I'm just going to make a knot onto the string and a bass string at the same time. So I'm currently doing knots with the main leading string for the background, with the knots of the green string being threaded through. So I'm going to make a knot just like that onto both the red string and the bass string at the same time. And now this leading string is ready for the next row in which I'm going to be using it. So this is how you use the clean back alpha technique. I'm going to continue making this bracelet, and when I am finished, I'm going to show you how I cut off the strings at the back. Alright, so I have finished making my keychain, and this is how it looks currently. And then if I flip it, this is how it looks from the back. I need to cut off these strings. And I'm going to do it how I would normally do in an alpha pattern. I just cut them off, except this time I'm going to be trying to get as close as I can possibly get to the bracelet itself. I'm going to attempt to do this with tiny manicure scissors first, and if not, I might use a different tool. Alright, that's been relatively successful, except there's a few strings that are still kind of sticking out. For those, I'm going to use this tool and try to get as close as possible. And don't worry about your strings untangling or anything bad happening. This is normal and nothing bad should happen to any of your strings. But there we go, you're left with a beautiful 2-sided design and a clean back to your alpha. Of course, you can still see some string poking through here and there, and some of that might go away with practice, because in some areas, for mine for example, it's not even that I'm getting rid of string and then cutting it off, it's just because I didn't really do the transition properly. So that should go away with practice, but things like here for example, that's a string coming out that maybe I didn't cut off well enough or something. Some things still may remain, but if you compare this to a regular alpha bracelet in which you can see all of the strings interacting with each other in the back, this is definitely a clean back alpha. Anyway, I think this is a really cool technique, especially for keychains that have to swivel from side to side. On keychains, you see both sides. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will try to answer as many as I can. The original photo tutorial is linked in the description if you want to check that out and leave your comments for the original creator of this technique as well. And now that we've learned a new skill on this channel, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators like you and me. Skillshare can help make 2022 a year of new learning, growth, and connection through creativity. Have a specific skill you're trying to learn? Skillshare is the perfect place to start. From classes on crafts like cross-stitch and embroidery to freelance classes about building Etsy shops, you can find classes that will match your goals and interests. I am currently looking to level up my graphic design skills, so I'm exploring a class by Sophia Yeshi called Create Graphic Design, Create Emotional Gripping Typographic Art. And I have already learnt so much about design principles, choosing fonts and references, and I have even created my first design. Skillshare is completely ad-free and has new premium classes launched every week, so there's always something new to discover. The entire catalogue is also now available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get 1 month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. A huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Before I go, I also want to thank my patrons and especially my top supporters. Thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. If you also want to become a patron and support the work that I do on this channel, the link to that is in the description. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video and I will see you in the next one. Bye!